Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in this video today I'm going to be showing you how to decorate one cake on top of the other, and I'm going to be giving you 5 tips that can make this easy for you. So I used to be one of those cake decorators that I can decorate a buttercream cake and I can have them to be 2-3 tiers, but I'm going to do them separately and then put them on one another, which can be really time consuming. Because why not decorate it in one go if you can?